Good evening, everyone. You're listening to another edition of Red Pill News. As always, I'm your host, Zach, and this is Red Pill 78. Let's jump right into it. First of all, we're going to be diving a little deeper into the story of now fired U.S. Attorney from the SDNY, Geoffrey Berman. It appears his firing has something to do with perhaps the Biden-Ukraine investigation. We're going to talk about some coverage on that. Also, we're going to be talking about the mysterious suicide of Hollywood producer Steve Bing. He has close ties to former President Bill Clinton. He has donated to the Clinton Foundation, and it gets a little deep from there. Next, we are going to be talking about a story from Dan Bongino. Apparently, hundreds of New Jersey Republicans received ballots which included no Republican names that they could vote for. Absolutely stunning. Mike Pompeo is speaking out about John Bolton and the criminal liability he has placed himself into. Also, we've got a tweet from my friend Awakened Outlaw. It has to do with AOC. Her primary race is today in the Bronx. So if you are a patriot and you live in New York, make sure that you vote today. Finally, we're going to be talking about President Trump and his new executive order to punish protesters who destroy federal monuments. And we're going to end with a tweet thread from Kurt Schlichter, giving us all a little bit of perspective. All right, guys, please, everyone, do sit back, relax, grab your popcorn, and we'll be right back after a brief word from our sponsor. You know, a lot of folks have lost hope recently. There's a lot of despair going around, more than a few sleepless nights, and with the stock market returning minus 10% since the start of the year, for a lot of people, it's looking dismal, but it doesn't have to be. Crazy as it sounds, gold has actually gained ground by around 15%. That's a 25% more bang for your buck. It's probably something you've never considered before, like the way you've never considered Zoom calls or wearing a mask in public. Now, all these things seem kinda normal, don't they? So, should you be investing in precious metals? Gold, silver, palladium, and platinum have proven to be safe haven investments. It's the only investment with appreciating value during an economic collapse. If you're interested in securing your wealth, call Noble Gold Investment today at 877-646-5347. That's 877-646-5347. or visit the website at noblegoldinvestments.com. Once again, that's noblegoldinvestments.com. And remember, when you support my sponsors, you support this channel. All right, guys, thanks for sticking around. First of all, today I want to take you guys back to post 4484. Now, remember, the U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of New York was until very recently Geoffrey Berman. Now, our favorite Anon links to the actual Justice Department press release talking about the fact that he is no longer going to be holding that position. And he asks us SDNY, importance of SDNY control. Now, the Southern District of New York had many very important cases that were going through it and kind of acting as a bottleneck, if you will. Now, under the jurisdiction of the SDNY, we had the Wiener evidence collection. That is the Wiener laptop, which has always haunted us as something that never got fully cleared up. We also had the investigation into the Clinton Foundation. There was also the evidence collection for the Jeffrey Epstein case, and of course, the Ukraine case as well. Now, he says focus on the above for now. I think specifically, he is pointing directly at Ukraine, and he says watch NYC. And then it goes on to a post from Geoffrey Berman talking about the fact that he doesn't want to step down and he has no intention of stepping down. And it says the guard refusing to step down, because that's what Berman was doing. POTUS refusal to formally nominate, asking if President Trump was refusing to formally nominate Geoffrey Berman. He was actually appointed by a judicial panel, which was rather strange. Appointed to that post by the SDNY judges, and he says in the kill box, unusual and removal of acting. The stakes are high. They will fight. Super Bowl puppy show. Clearly, the situation with Geoffrey Berman is about more than just a U.S. attorney. It is about the very stakes for control of this country itself. Just looking at these cases that were under the jurisdiction of the SDNY, you can see this is all of the most important things that we as patriots and people in this movement have been hoping were going to get cleared up a long time ago. And now with the removal of Geoffrey Berman, they will. And with the removal of Geoffrey Berman, additional cases are going to come to light. Now, specifically focusing on Ukraine, let's take a look at some coverage from today from John Solomon. Well, a few days ago, we were told to focus on Ukraine for now, and today the news drops that Geoffrey Berman was given the information about the Biden-Ukraine scandal allegations all the way back in 2018, but decided not to follow up on it. Now, the Ukraine prosecutors didn't want the political spectacle that became impeachment and simply sought to turn over evidence about Biden and election interference to U.S. prosecutors. This is in both emails and memos. Now, if this would have been handed off to Berman and then successfully acted upon back in 2018, perhaps we could have avoided the impeachment debacle altogether. Think of how many millions of dollars the U.S. taxpayer could have been saved. But Geoffrey Berman decided to look the other way. Now, these emails from the fall of 2018 between an American lawyer and the chief federal prosecutor in Manhattan, Geoffrey Berman, were just recently obtained by John Solomon and the people at Just the News. Now, the memos that were given to them show that well before Ukrainian prosecutors ever reached out to Rudy Giuliani, who is President Trump's lawyer, of course, in 2019 to talk about the allegations regarding Biden and the 2016 election interference, they first approached Geoffrey Berman's office in New York back in October of 2018 by way of another American lawyer, and that person was Little Rock, Arkansas lawyer Bud Cummins. He himself was a former U.S. attorney, and he reached out no less than 5 times in October of 2018 directly to Berman, and he sought to arrange a meeting with then Ukrainian Prosecutor General Yuri Lutsenko. Now, Lutsenko has emerged as a key figure in the impeachment scandal and wanted to confidentially share with federal prosecutors in New York evidence he claimed to possess that raised concerns about the Biden's behavior, as well as the alleged wrongdoing in the Paul Manafort corruption case. Now, Prosecutor General Yuri Lutsenko came offering to come to the U.S. to meet with high-level law enforcement to share the fruits of investigations within the Ukraine that had produced evidence of 2 basic alleged crimes. Cummins wrote these words to Berman on October 4th of 2018. It was one day after, I guess, they had talked on the phone about the allegations. Now, those allegations included that Joe Biden had exercised influence to protect Burisma Holdings after his son Hunter and his son's business partner Devon Archer, who was the stepson of former Secretary of State John Kerry, had joined that Ukrainian gas company's board of directors, and that substantial sums of money were paid to them directly from Cummins' mouth. At the time Hunter Biden and Archer joined Burisma in 2014, the company was already under criminal investigation in both England and Ukraine for alleged corruption. Now, the British case was dropped in 2015, and the Ukraine cases were eventually settled in the final days of the renegade administration. Now, of course, Biden boasted during a 2018 public appearance that he forced the firing of Lutsenko's predecessor, Viktor Shokin, back in 2016 because he threatened to withhold that $1 billion in U.S. aid to the Ukraine. Now, at that time, Shokin was leading the investigation into Burisma, but Biden denies that investigation had any factor into his decision to attempt to withhold that $1 billion. Now, the firm that Hunter Biden and Devon Archer were a part of had received $3 million in payments from Burisma between 2014 and 2016. That's based on bank records that were shown by the FBI, and records that were recently released by the State Department also point to the fact that Hunter and Archer had contacts in 2015 and 2016 with State Department officials, senior State Department officials, including Secretary of State John Kerry and Deputy Secretary of State Tony Blinken. I am always shocked when they forget to mention that Devon Archer is the stepson of John Kerry. I really feel that plays into this case into a large degree. Now, you can't forget that Burisma's U.S. representatives at that same time were lobbying the State Department in Washington and the U.S. Embassy in Kiev, seeking to make the corruption allegations disappear, and the State Department memos that have been released by FOIA show that to be the case. The allegation by Prosecutor General Lutsenko is that the U.S. Ambassador Marie Yovanovitch, a very familiar name, Joe Biden and John Kerry made conclusions about who were the good guys and who were the bad guys in the local government there. They believe that Biden and Kerry were influenced by payments to Hunter Biden and Devon Archer to influence certain decisions, particularly those benefiting Burisma. Again, a direct quote from Cummins himself. Now, Cummins also told Berman that Lutsenko had evidence that a ledger found in Ukraine in 2016, alleging to show payments to Manafort from a Russian-backed political party in Ukraine, had been doctored, and that the U.S. knew the evidence was corrupted. The very presence and knowledge of this information could have set set Paul Manafort free a long time ago. The fact that Berman knew about this and decided not to do anything, it really shows you exactly where his loyalties lie. They are certainly not with this country, and they are certainly not on the side of truth and justice. Now, the second allegation above is that the embassy and the FBI willfully pressured Ukrainian officials to falsify evidence to be leaked to the media about Paul Manafort to affect the outcome of the 2016 election and to force Manafort to retire from the Trump campaign. Now, during an interview over the phone, Cummins said that he had one phone call and 4 email contacts with Berman in October 2018 in regards to this Ukraine matter, but the prosecutor's office never took Lutsenko up on his offer to come to Washington and lay out his evidence. I wonder why that would be. He said, "I never heard from them again. It was an opportunity for the Justice Department to address these concerns privately, and who knows how history could have turned out if the SDNY had simply followed up." Now, Berman instead would eventually indict 2 associates of Rudy Giuliani on campaign finance and other charges after they tried to help the former New York City mayor and lawyer of President Trump publicize the Ukraine prosecutor's concerns. One of those indicted associates, of course, is Lev Parnas. He worked as a translator and interview facilitator for this reporter on a handful of Ukraine interviews in 2019, but prosecutors do not allege he did anything wrong in that work. Now, James Margolin, a spokesperson for the U.S. Attorney's Office in New York, of course, has declined to comment about the entire situation with Cummins and taking it back to 2018. Cummins said he was not representing Lutsenko as his client, but rather a Ukrainian-American citizen who was trying to help the prosecutor general get information into U.S. authorities' hands. He was trying to do the right thing. Now, Cummins' email states that Lutsenko wanted to meet with Berman because the U.S. Attorney's Office in New York had successfully prosecuted Devon Archer on unrelated charges earlier in 2018. Archer's conviction, however, was overturned by a judge, and Berman's office never retried the case. Now, Cummins' efforts to help arrange the meeting were confirmed by one of Lutsenko's deputies, and he also said that any effort by Ukrainian authorities to convey this evidence to American officials at the U.S. Justice Department were continually thwarted. Lutsenko said in an interview last year that when Cummins' efforts failed to get an audience with the Justice Department, that's when he reached out to Giuliani, hoping to find a different channel to get this information here into the United States and the DOJ. It was those contacts that eventually spurred the entire impeachment inquiry, which ended in January in the Senate's acquittal of President Trump. Now, Democrats have continually tried to purvey Rudy Giuliani's activities as an effort to dig up dirt on President Trump's 2020 rival, but now with the release of these emails and these memos, it is clear that other people here in this country and in the Ukraine were attempting to get this information brought over to the U.S. so that justice could be served. Now, Cummins' emails make it clear that Ukrainian authorities were not interested in investigating the Bidens on Ukrainian law violations, but rather they wanted to confidentially provide evidence of possible violations of U.S. law so American authorities could investigate that. They had no interest in involving President Trump or the White House. Rather, they just ended up going to President Trump in the White House through an intermediary, Rudy Giuliani, because the rest of the Department of Justice, through the SDNY, refused to listen to their claims. This is a completely different animal than the idea that Joe Biden is involved in Ukraine corruption. This is proof of crimes committed here in the United States based upon U.S. laws. And with Joe Biden now being the front runner in the Democrat Party, of course you know that they're going to say that the only reason it's being brought up is because he is a political opponent. Let's go back to the posts. Now, earlier today, we got post 4500. This is a landmark post because following in the wake of Berman being fired and now knowing the importance of the information that he suppressed in the interest of saving Joe Biden and his family, we have a press conference which was given by Ukrainian officials in which they level some very serious charges against not only Joe Biden, but it also leads directly to George Soros. Let's take a look at a clip from my friend, The Sharp Edge. So she went through the entire hour or so long press conference that our favorite Anon posted, and she cut out a very important segment. She says, wow, a translated Ukrainian press conference from yesterday not only implicates Biden, but also George Soros in a plot to snatch $1.5 billion from Ukrainian taxpayers for a, get this, corruption tax through overstated gas tariffs from Naftogaz. Now that, I guess, is a Ukrainian gas company, but it wasn't just that they were attempting to steal $1.5 billion. They got away with it. They actually got the $1.5 billion and they siphoned it off to their American partners. And I'm sure that that included people like the Bidens, like the Archers, like the Kerrys, and also George Soros. There are documents attached to these claims. This is not simply a baseless claim. This is something that could actually be taken to court and used to criminally prosecute these people. I asked earlier today on Occam's Razor if this might increase the opportunity for George Soros to be the first arrest, but it also seriously increases the possibility that Joe Biden himself could be one of the first arrests. Regardless of the fact that Joe Biden is a political opponent, this man has broken some incredible laws, not only here in the United States, but also abroad. And you have to ask, how many other places has he used as his own personal piggy bank? Now, next we have a tweet thread that I put out last night that I wanted to show you guys. There was a man by the name of Steve Bing. He was a film financier, he was a philanthropist, and a major donor to the Clinton Foundation. Yesterday afternoon, he jumped from the 27th floor of the Century City building in Hollywood to his death. Now, whether or not he jumped or if he was helped with doing that action, we don't know at this time, but he does have some close association to the Clintons, and so I thought it was worth taking a look. Now, he was particularly close to former President Bill Clinton. He donated between $10 and $25 million to the Clinton Foundation, and he also had been paying Bill Clinton $2.5 million a year to serve as a personal advisor to the former president. Now, it's notable that he is no longer with us because in 2009, back when Bill Clinton flew to North Korea to negotiate the release of two American journalists, Yoona Lee and Laura Ling, it was actually Steve Bing who picked up the bill and paid for the whole tab. Now, if those two women sound familiar to you, they showed up in an email chain from John Podesta in the WikiLeaks emails back in 2015. Here they are in an image shown with a little girl eating a slice of pizza. I will let you guys investigate this stuff on your own, but I will leave the link to my tweet thread down below. Now, I've also heard that potentially Bing might have been under indictment or at least under the investigation of a grand jury. It's possible that he could have learned that people in his private circle had been called in and questioned about his activities and the things that he was doing, perhaps in concert with Bill Clinton or with Bill Clinton's other allies like Jeffrey the billionaire. We'll never know at this point, but it's something that may come out in the future. Keep an eye on this story because additional people in his orbit may become ensnared. We've already seen in the last 24 hours several Hollywood heavyweights start to go down for very unscrupulous activities. Now, speaking of Bill Clinton, speaking of Jeffrey Epstein, Julie K. Brown is a journalist who has been looking into the Epstein case for quite some time. In a new tweet released just a couple of hours ago, she says that Alan Dershowitz's attorney confirms that his client has access to Virginia Giuffre's sealed depositions. In those depositions, she reveals that she was directed by Jeffrey to have sex with former Israeli Prime Minister Ehud Barak and Victoria's Secret's Les Wexner. This is a bombshell revelation because it's the first time in court records to be shown that Epstein directed Virginia Giuffre to have sex with powerful men for nefarious purposes. There is going to be more information coming out about this in the near future, and I'm going to keep reporting. All right, next, from Dan Bongino to the surprise of absolutely zero Republicans, hundreds of New Jersey Republicans received misprinted ballots which only listed Dem candidates, so they couldn't even vote for the candidates they wanted to. Now, this is important because we all know the Dems have a major push right now for mail-in ballots, but how can mail-in voting be safe at all if you don't even have the opportunity to vote for the candidate that you want or anybody in your party? Now, they are pushing this campaign to get mail-in voting in every single state, to make it mandatory, to scare people from staying away from the polling places and going out in public, but it does not work if you don't have a ballot that has your party on it. Now, this vote was for a primary in a New Jersey community. The ballots are due on July 7th. The choices on those ballots that they were sent were all Democrats. Between 500 and 700 Republicans received the wrong ballots out of about 2,400 enrolled in Bernardsville, New Jersey. So a little less than a third of all of the voters in that area. They said the error was laid at the door of the printing company that sent out the ballots, but the government, of course, is going to have a role in this mix-up somehow. Usually the Somerset County Clerk's office would do the printing. However, after New Jersey Governor Phil Murphy ordered every voter to receive a ballot in the mail, the job was farmed out. And this is the kind of thing that you see happening when they have these rush decisions forcing people to do the mail-in voting. I am certain that the people of this New Jersey community are going to have this error fixed, but it goes to show the dangers that you have in mail-in voting and the types of hanky-panky that can take place. Now, next, we're going to be talking about the ongoing saga of John Bolton, former National Security Advisor. Now, Mike Pompeo appeared on Sean Hannity's program last night. As you can see on the screen, there are images from protesters, rioters out in front of the White House. They were attempting to create their own autonomous zone, and they did some damage to some monuments. We'll talk about that next. But Mike Pompeo here has some really interesting thoughts on the John Bolton situation. So let's go ahead and take a listen.
I read that you said that John Bolton is a liar. I know in conversations with me, he didn't tell me the truth. At direct, specific conversations I can recall. I have all these quotes of John Bolton, and I mentioned them on the radio today, and I can recap them, but praising the president. Nobody's been tougher on China. President's been strong with Russia. President on Iran, the president on North Korea, for example. I don't know who he's arguing with, but it seems to be this John Bolton and that John Bolton. And it's a little disappointing, but I guess we've seen the president get stabbed in the back by a lot of people at this point. Not even relevant to me.
You know, Sean, it's both sad and dangerous. I haven't read the book in its entirety, but the excerpts I've seen, there's lots of falsehoods, there's lots of lies contained there. Indeed, the cover itself that said he was in the room isn't even completely true. The president and others, myself included, had to cut him out of meetings because he was leaking or he'd twist things or he'd lie. It was a really difficult situation where John Bolton thought he was more important than the president of the United States and the American people. And the core story, Sean, that somehow the president took action so he could get reelected, that his foreign policy was driven by that. He didn't kill Qasem Soleimani to get reelected. He isn't pushing it back against the Chinese Communist Party to get reelected. He didn't get out of the Paris Climate Accord to get reelected. He did this to secure the basic rights and security for every American. This president's foreign policy is something that John Bolton should have been proud of, and instead he stepped away in a way that fundamentally misrepresents what we've done. And frankly, the information he has released puts criminal liability squarely on him. We all saw what's happened when people leak classified information like Edward Snowden. What John Bolton did here is not dissimilar from that. And while we'll leave open for the Justice Department to take its action, this kind of information getting out, it presents real risk and real harm to the United States of America.
Couple of things there. First of all, Mike Pompeo's obvious look of disgust when Sean Hannity brings up the subject of John Bolton. And then the idea that John Bolton is a liar, and the president and the Secretary of State had to cut John Bolton out of meetings, and that they knew that he was leaking, and they knew that he was a liar. I think that what John Bolton has done here has opened himself up to criminal liability. I've said that in the last week, and now Mike Pompeo has clearly reflected that. But what is even stronger is comparing what John Bolton has done to the efforts of Edward Snowden, putting American lives at real risk and divulging national security secrets. I think it's too far gone for this book to be stopped from coming out, and I do think now that, as Mike Pompeo alluded to, the Justice Department is going to have to take action, and I think it's about time. Now, my friend Awaken Outlaw has a tweet here that says AOC busted. This is a post from Mark Levin, and it includes a deleted post from AOC, and her primary election is today. So hopefully by the end of this evening, she will no longer be the sitting United States representative for her district. Now, she was responding to somebody else, and it says it's vital that governors maintain restrictions on businesses until after the November elections because economic recovery will help Trump be reelected. A few business closures or job losses is a small price to pay to be free from his presidency. Keep us closed. Absolutely stunning admission from AOC because it shows exactly what the motives are behind the Democrats and their efforts to keep our country closed. It is absolutely all about the election, and I know that none of us are surprised. Now, with regard to those rioters out in front of the White House and the damage they did to statues, President Trump put out this tweet earlier where he said, "I have authorized the federal government to arrest anyone who vandalizes or destroys any monument, statue, or other such federal property in the U.S. with up to 10 years in prison, per the Veterans Memorial Preservation Act, or such other laws that may be pertinent. This action is taken effective immediately, but may also be used retroactively for destruction or vandalism already caused. There will be no exceptions." Now, it's a wonderful thing that President Trump is speaking out and telling the law enforcement officials of this country that it's time they start prosecuting for the vandalism we've seen of our national American monuments. But unfortunately, this law was already in effect. He mentions the Veterans Memorial Preservation Act. That is nothing new. What is new, however, is the enforcement actions that I'm looking forward to seeing taking place. These people that have destroyed American monuments, I don't care what generation they were from, they are important preservation pieces for our own American history, and they need to stay in place. This is not 1984, despite what the Democrats and their ilk want us to become. All right, and finally, I want to end on this thread from Kurt Schlichter. What they want us to do is to get emotional. They want to rile us up, and they want to pit man against woman. They want to pit race against race. They want to pit American against American. Kurt says, all right, this is when the fight gets hard. You have to control your emotions. You see butt munches in the D.C. park trying, and not incidentally failing thanks to federal cops, to pull down a statue, and you let your emotions control you. Except they lost tonight. Lost. They tried to pull down a statue and federal cops stopped them. Yet half of conservative Twitter is freaking out. Trump's doing nothing, they cry. So the left got you doing exactly what it wanted. By losing? Stop it. Yes, the leftist rioters, that rounding error of a rounding error of a rounding error of America's 300 million people is provocative, and they are trying to be. So why are you letting it provoke you, especially when we beat them tonight? And it's not just D.C. Scumbagistan has gone full Lord of the Flies, and everyone there is piggy. All of us see a preview of the USA under Biden, and Seattle's garbage mayor is pulling the plug on the Summer of Love too. That's 1,000,000 times better than Trump sending in the 82nd Division. Stop panicking and fretting about how Trump is not doing anything. Not doing what the enemy wants is not doing anything. The enemy gets a vote. The enemy always tries to position you where you have no great options. This is no different. What can you do? Well, you can stop pulling your hair out. Yeah, it's frustrating, it's annoying, it's obnoxious, but too bad. Tighten the HE double hockey sticks up. Focus on the objective and stop doing what they want. We win if we stay calm, if we don't panic, if we stick with the team and stop undercutting Trump, who is our only option. Do you want to win, or do you want to vent because the dirty trust fund jerks made you mad? Well, I want to win. Not just the election, though we must win that. I want to win the whole cultural war and burn Marxism to the ground. And doing that means cold, calculated ruthlessness, not mindless reaction to jerks trying to get our eyes off the prize. Get woke. I think this is so important because it underscores my own personal feelings about how to react in terms of all of the stuff that we see going on around us. Panicking, freaking out, getting emotional does absolutely no good. We must keep our eyes on the prize. What is happening now is what needed to happen to wake up the rest of America. As our favorite Anand said, sometimes you can't just tell people, you have to show them. And as President Trump said in his rally the other night, all of America now knows exactly what life under Joe Biden would be like. We do not need Democrat Marxist rule in this country. We need a restoration of our republic, and President Trump is the only way we're getting there right now. All right, guys, we are winning. We are showing America what life would be like under Democrat rule, and there is no way people want to go there. If you have not seen or read Lord of the Flies, I encourage you to do so. We just had our 4th GSW take place in the Chop in Seattle. These people are not going to put up with it for much longer. I have heard that the mayor themselves is looking to retake that area, and I bet you that when it comes down to election time, that mayor is probably going to be summarily removed from office. Everything that you are seeing now is the culmination of all of our efforts over the last couple of years, and the liberation of the SDNY is going to allow the Department of Justice to take action on many of these cases, if not all of them. The people that need to pay are going to, and you and I are going to be victorious. As always, this has been Red Pill 78. I am the Corruption Detector, and this was your Red Pill News. Good luck, everyone, and God bless. Hey guys, one more thing. I just want to say thank you to everybody who has supported the channel. If you're interested in doing more, there is always links in the description below. I have the merch store. Of course, I also have the backup channels. Please subscribe to those. If you take a look up here, you're going to see a couple of other videos. There's also a spot to subscribe if you have not subscribed yet. And if you are subscribed, I ask you to please check and make sure that you're still subscribed and your notifications are turned on. Thank you, everybody, for watching the program, and I will see you tomorrow.